Brian Lehrer on WNYC, and yes, it's been an all-call-in Brian Lehrer show today, partly because it's just fun, and we do this once in a while just because, and partly to give most of our team the day before Christmas off so they didn't have to book guests, like when everybody they might call is probably taking a vacation day themselves and would decline. And we'll wrap this up as we head toward Christmas with the simplest of questions. What's the best gift you ever received? 212-433-WNYC. It can be a Christmas gift, or it doesn't have to be. It can be a birthday present or any kind of gift. Call or text with the best gift you ever received and what made it that. 212-433-9692. And I'll say this, as simple as it is, was inspired by a New York Times article, a very sweet one on the topic with the headline, 600 readers told us about the best gifts they ever got. These are the top 13. So to help with the prompt for this, I'll just read out some of the very nice stories from that article. You ready? Listener Tade Allen in Virginia Beach writes, one Christmas in 1996, when my husband was deployed, Virginia Beach is a big military town, I was feeling overwhelmed. I was a young working mother with 3 kids, 2 of them still in diapers. I lamented to a friend that I couldn't imagine how I would get a Christmas tree, get it home and set it all up with the kids underfoot and no husband to help me. One evening, a few weeks later, there was a knock at the door. There stood that friend with a fully decorated Christmas tree. Where do you want it? He asked. I could barely speak through my tears. I was so touched that he took my passing comment and acted on it. Over 30 years later, though that friend and I have long since fallen out of touch, I always remember his gesture at Christmas time. Another one. My husband and I have been married for 57 years, and while we enjoy giving gifts to our family and friends, we would rather save up to do something together than buy gifts for each other. I was surprised, therefore, a few years ago when my husband gave me a birthday gift. It was a stapler, a regular, normal stapler. He noticed that I would run up to my home office when I needed to staple something and felt I shouldn't have to do that. Today, we're in a different house, but my home office is still upstairs, and that new stapler is always handy on the first floor. I was touched that even after so many years together, my husband was still devoted to making my life better, writes Rosemary Kindon from Charlottesville, Virginia. Another one from the Times article, as a grad school graduation present to me, my father quit smoking cold turkey. He had smoked for over 40 years. It took him tremendous time and effort to quit. The beginning was especially difficult. It's now 20 years later, and he tells me he still craves cigarettes, but he remains true to his gift. He gave all of us a bright, healthy future together. And wow, that is some gift. As written in by Chrissy Hufford from Santa Cruz. And let's see, should I do one more? Why not? How about this one from Boston? Karen Davies in Boston. When I was in my 20s, I asked my father to record himself reading my favorite children's books as a Christmas present. I wanted to make sure that my kids would be able to enjoy his storytelling abilities as much as I had, even if he wasn't around anymore by the time they were born. My father is an expert storyteller. He does all the voices and sound effects. My father is still alive, and now my son is almost old enough to appreciate being read to in person, but I still have the recording, and it brings me joy to know that my father's voice will be preserved for generations to come. So those from the Times, very sweet stories, right? Now it's your turn. What's the best gift you ever received and what made it that? 212-433-WNYC, 212-433-9692. We'll take your calls and text right after this.
On the next Fresh Air, we kick off our End of the Year series featuring a few of our favorite interviews of the year with Mitch Albom. His book Tuesdays with Maury became a best-selling memoir and was adapted into an Emmy-winning film. His latest novel, Twice, is about a man who discovers he can relive any moment but must accept the consequences of reliving it. Join us. Weekdays at 2 on WNYC.
WNYC support comes from the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, offering community solar, focusing on providing solar benefits to low and moderate income households. More at nj.gov/BPU. Mubi, presenting Father, Mother, Sister, Brother. Adam Driver, Kate Blanchett, and Tom Waits lead an ensemble cast in Jim Jarmusch's latest film, A Story of Family Reunions. Father, Mother, Sister, Brother is only in theaters this Christmas, rated R. City Meals on Wheels, providing home-delivered meals and companionship for 22,000 homebound older New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. Learn more at citymeals.org.
And coming up at noon on all of it, hear highlights from the year in music, including the twangy licks and fancy fingerpicking of banjo players Alison Brown and Steve Martin. I love how they just refer to Steve Martin as a banjo player here. Plus, the Doobie Brothers reunite for their induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, coming up at noon on WNYC.
This is WNYC. 93.9 FM and AM 820. NPR News and the New York Conversation.
We head to the best present you ever got for Christmas or anything else. Listener texts, the best Christmas present I ever received was my first half-size violin from my parents when I was about 6 years old. I'm 41 now and work as a musician full-time. The violin has taken me on tours all around the world, writes Patrick in Brooklyn. Gary in Sunnyside, you're on WNYC. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Brian. I love your show. This was excuse me. This was a birthday gift that I got from a former girlfriend. We were still friends, and this was about a year after we had stopped going out. She got me Fred Astaire's autograph in the form of an original letter on RKO Studios stationery. It was a typed letter, but signed by Fred Astaire. The reason it was so touching in many ways was, first of all, she knew that I loved Fred Astaire. I mean, that was, from us going to movies together, and actually, she had searched for, getting me some form of his autograph for a long time, and like I say, finally found it and gave it to me basically about a year after we were no longer, dating but still friends. And I will say, anyone who knows me, I'm kind of a chatterbox. I was literally speechless. I guess it was because I felt it was a combination of that someone knew me well enough to know how much I would totally treasure this gift, and took the trouble to, track it down. And I guess, coming from, as I say, a former girlfriend, but who we still had a lot of affection for each other. So Susan M., if you're listening, I still have the letter, of course, and I still, there's no competition in terms of the best present I ever got.
That is such a sweet story, Gary. Thank you very much. And I guess there's something in the air about autographs as best gifts, because Jamie in Queens has one too. Jamie, you're on WNYC. Hi.
Hi, Brian. I'm delighted to speak to you. So my daughter, Neve, she got me a present of a novel by Pete Hamill. She knew I was a big fan, and I was very sad when he passed away. And so she got me a signed copy of a novel called The Gift by Pete Hamill. And inside there was an inscription, and it was to someone called Long John. And it said, thanks, with great memories and affection of the days when the nights lasted forever, and there was always room for a kid from Brooklyn, best Pete Hamill. So I'm thinking, who could that be? How am I going to figure out who this is? So
I know who it is.
I did a little. You do know? Okay, but you should, because he did the same thing as you.
That's right. When you said Long John and overnight, Long John Neville.
Yes,
right?
Yes, Long John Neville. So I contacted his daughter, Pete Hamill's daughter, and she was kind enough to email me back, his daughter Deirdre, who's a journalist, and I found whatever emails I could. And she told me she would ask her uncle, who's also a journalist. I can't recall his first name. And he said it was Long John Neville. And then I also went back and looked in some of my memoirs that I've read of Pete Hamill, and I found Long John Neville. Gift, and I had always hoped I would meet Pete Hamill someday, and I never got to.
Yeah,
but this is a lovely present.
Very, very nice. Yeah, he was an overnight talk show host many decades ago, Long John Neville. Sally on the Upper West Side has something that's not an autograph. Hi, Sally. You're on WNYC.
Well, I have a very funny best Christmas present. When I moved into my apartment some 50 years ago, it was all salmon-colored tile, which I hated. But the toilet seat that was in the apartment was broken, and I went out and bought a red toilet seat. And everybody who came would be astonished. Where did you get that red toilet seat? Well, it broke about 15 years after I first got it, and I looked high and low for over a year. You couldn't find, you could get burgundy, you could get pink, but you could not get fire engine red. And I had commented to a friend who was very handy. I said, I just cannot find a red toilet seat. He didn't believe me, and he started looking and realized that I was right. And for that Christmas, they came from the West Coast to the East, and I went down and we spent Christmas together, and I opened this package, and he had gotten a plain wooden toilet seat, fortunately their standard size, and painted it red, and I still have it to this day.
Painted it himself for you. That is a great story. And just like autographs, there's something about the color red that's in the air in this call-in, because I think David in Marlborough has a story like that. Hi, David. David, you there? Do I have the right line? David.
Hello?
Oh, yeah. Hi. Who are you?
Hello. I got the best red Tesla that I bought for my wife because she had previously a red car, and she is afraid to drive it. So I got my own, a very nice present.
A present on the rebound because your wife doesn't is afraid to drive it, you say. Okay, very good. How about Fern in East Fishkill? You're on WNYC. Hi, Fern.
Hi, Brian. Long-term listener, first-time caller. I'm a volunteer tutor in a program that works with asylum seekers and immigrants who are learning English, and we help we talk with them and we work with them to learn English in a very wonderful environment. And we don't expect gifts from our students because we know many of them are in difficult circumstances. But one of our students last week made individualized cards for every single teacher with our pictures and inside an inscription that spoke to our personal qualities and our qualities as a teacher. And it is one of the most wonderful things I have ever received. And I can barely tell you, I'm choking up.
And I can hear. And beautiful. Thank you very much. We're going to squeeze in Leon in Suffolk County because he's got maybe the best one of all. But Leon, we have like 10 seconds for you. Go for it.
Hi, Brian. The best gift I ever got was the birth of my daughter about 44 years ago. And I also want to let you know I am a Marie Curie graduate and a Bayside High School graduate. And hopefully you have a happy new year.
So we went to the same schools. Thank you very much. And that's our call-in, our all-call-in show for Christmas Eve morning. Thanks to all of you for making the show what it is every day. And to those of you who celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. Stay tuned for all of it.
WNYC receives support from Brooklyn Solar Works, a Brooklyn-based solar firm working to bring custom rooftop solar to NYC homes and businesses. Details at brooklynsolarworks.com. Every day, WNYC is working to get closer to New York and to New Yorkers. The underwriting we get from businesses helps power our independence. Learn how your organization can join in at sponsorship.wnyc.org.
This is WNYC, FM, HD, and AM, New York.